Arriving now. Fox 43's Harry Lee explains what you need to know if you are expecting one.
Hundreds of thousands of Americans are getting extra stimulus money. The latest batch of stimulus checks last week included nearly $1.2 billion in plus-up payments as more 2020 tax returns are processed.
The plus-up payments are money that is owed to the taxpayers for their stimulus.
The Social Security Administration has sent out millions of dollars to Social Security and SSDI recipients, and that means many people are receiving the much-needed stimulus cash that they have been calling for. And so now everybody, get ready for President Biden to send out more stimulus payments before 2023, and let's get ready for more stimulus checks, the fourth one. So as inflation has kept prices high in 2022, beneficiaries may look forward to record high cost of living adjustments in 2023. The SSA said in a new statement that your Social Security benefits will be increasing by 8.7% in 2023 because of a rise in cost of living. The increase will be the highest in 40 years. It's also a significant bump from the 5.9% cost of living increase that beneficiaries saw in 2022. According to a former Social Security administrator, the increase is kind of a double-edged sword because it's good for people on Social Security, but it's not so good for the economy with inflation. Social Security benefit checks will reflect the increase starting in January. According to the SSA, the average retirement benefit will go up to about $146 per month to $2,000 a month in 2023. And everybody listen to this because from $1,700, that was back in 2021. So now it's increasing by $200 a month. So the average disability benefit will increase by $120 per month to $1,400.83 in 2023 from $1,400 in 2022. What's more, everybody, is that standard Medicare Part B premiums will go down by about 3% next year to $165 a month. That's a 5% decrease from last year. But so far, Medicare Part B covers outpatient medical care costs, including doctor's visits, and monthly Part B premium payments are often deducted directly from Social Security checks due to the lower cost of premiums. Beneficiaries are poised to see more of the 8.7% increase in their monthly Social Security checks. CBS News reported that the good news about these letters is people are realizing that 100% of the 8.7% lift is here. And if you're wondering how much you stand to see in your checks, well, you can expect to receive a letter from the SSA. It will give you a breakdown of what to expect. That includes your new 2023 monthly benefit checks amount before deduction. It will also tell you your 2023 monthly deductions for Medicare Part B, as well as Medicare Part D, which covers another prescription. The statement will show your deduction for voluntary tax withholding. According to experts, after those deductions, the statement shows how much will be deposited into your bank, and a senior U.S. official told U.S. Today that cuts to Social Security and Medicare would actually hurt the standard of living that American retirees have. And Ben Harris, the Treasury's Assistant Secretary for Economic Policy, said in an event in Washington that these programs are the cornerstone of the American retirement system. And it's difficult to imagine either program sustaining substantial cuts in resources while dramatically impacting millions of beneficiaries. So while Harris didn't mention the looming political battle, his remarks came as GOP lawmakers in the administration are heading for a shutdown of the government's legal borrowing limit, and Republicans have said that they might demand large spending cuts, so including to Social Security and Medicare, in exchange for raising the debt ceiling. Harris added roughly half the retirement age households depend on Social Security for almost all of their income, and cuts to Social Security would just decimate their standard of living. He said that Medicare carried equal weight and that any marked cuts to the program would undoubtedly mean undue suffering for the beneficiaries who just depend on the program for critical health care. And Joe Biden said in November that he's willing to work with Republicans but wouldn't accept cuts to Social Security and Medicare. Harris's comments delivered at an event at the Brookings Institution said that her speech was on how conditions for retirees have deteriorated in recent decades. And folks, I agree with President Biden. Stimulus payments should be sent out by the end of the year, and he also added this information, that more stimulus beginning to be approved, and the next relief check may go out on a monthly basis. The lawmakers have already confirmed that the check amount will range from every household, and throughout 2023, a handful of states plan to send out eligible residents their stimulus checks. Whether it's called a credit, refund, or inflation-fighting check, it's still stimulus sent from the reserves that states have. Some low-income families in Missouri could get a stimulus check of $500. If approved, these stimulus checks are specifically for residents of St. Louis, Missouri. The proposal is to send stimulus checks from Missouri, and it has been approved by the Zonal Committee.
Now we're going to turn to our hearing today, and this morning we'll be discussing the Department of Interior's implementation of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which is known as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. I'd like to welcome and thank Tommy Boudreau, Deputy Secretary of the Department of Interior, for appearing before the committee today. Last year, Congress worked in a bipartisan way to enact the largest federal investments in our nation's infrastructure in decades, including approximately $100 billion in authorization and funding for the Department of Interior and the Department of Energy. This, combined with the investments provided in the Inflation Reduction Act, will be game-changing for us to produce more energy, lead the world in innovation, onshore supply chains, clean up legacy pollution, address drought, plan for wildland fires, and more. Last July, we held a very thorough business meeting about these provisions in our jurisdiction, which we considered 74 amendments and agreed to 48 before reporting our position of the bill with the bipartisan support. And as I understand, we might have been the only committee that worked the entire bill through this process. Now that the bipartisan infrastructure bill has been law for just shy of 13 months, we're here today to discuss how the Department of the Interior has been implementing the authorization and the $28.1 billion that we provided you. I am especially proud that $16 billion of that funding will be specifically helped to address an issue very important to my home state of West Virginia, the reclamation of abandoned coal mine lands and the plugging of orphan wells. Over $1.2 billion has already gone out the door to carry out that work. Working together with Interior, states are investing in projects to document and plug orphan wells. They close dangerous mine shafts, reclaim unstable slopes, restore water supplies, and clean streams by treating acid mine drainage, all while providing local jobs in those communities. Coal communities in West Virginia and across the country are proud to have powered our nation for decades and enabled this country to become the superpower of the world. Last year's funding investments recognize those contributions and the scars these communities bear as a result, and provide the funding needed.
Able to move forward to end starvation wages in this country and raise the income of 32 million struggling Americans. But Lindsey Graham had a different take. He said this decision actually reinforces reconciliation, cannot be used as a vehicle to pass major legislation change by either party on a simple.
They'll instead receive a $200 tax credit by filing a 2020 tax return. And also, about 300,000 low-income essential workers will receive $500 checks from the Baker administration. Payments will be mailed to eligible Massachusetts residents beginning on Monday as part of the Crisis Essential Employee Premium Pay Program. The House Speaker said on Twitter the legislature was proud to establish this program through our American Rescue Plan Act, and the essential workers who work to keep the Commonwealth during the height of the crisis deserve nothing less. People must have earned at least $13,000 with a total income below 300% of the federal poverty level. The maximum income for a single filer must be no more than $38,000. A lot of money's coming your way, so get ready. Let's get ready for President Biden to send out more stimulus checks. I'm definitely ready for this, everybody. New deposit date has been confirmed. The next batch of checks will be deposited this week. Yes, this week. Many Americans can expect to receive a one-time inflation payment. Some governors have also agreed to use unused funds of crisis relief checks for bonus checks for the residents. So states are continuing to send out target relief checks to the residents just to help people offset the impact of rising gas and inflation. These states are sending out the relief money in one form or another. Rhode Island is the latest state to join the growing list and will be sending rebate checks and relief money in the form